part of the Oder-Neisse offensive, the Battle of Bautzen was one of the last battles of the Second World War. Did you know that it were the Germans who won this battle? No? Well, this is one of the forgotten World War II episodes. So we're gonna talk about this battle, the Battle of Bautzen. Stay tuned. Hey, good to have you back on the channel, and if you're new, my name is Stefan, I'm a history teacher from the Netherlands and I'm hustling history for you. And if you like that, please consider subscribing and do hit that notification bell so you will become part of the hustle. Let's start. By April 1945, the German Third Reich was about to collapse, yet many German units kept fighting on. After crossing the Oder River, the Soviets marched on Berlin. In the south, Polish Soviet General Karol Świerczewski and his Polish troops were marching towards Dresden. Further south, in the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, which was former Czechoslovakia, Army Group Center, around 600,000 men strong, led by Ferdinand Schörner, was located. Now Schörner ordered an attack towards the southern flank in order to cut off the Soviet-Polish forces and push to Berlin. The Germans hoped the Soviets' advance to Berlin could be delayed long enough in order to surrender the capital to the Western Allies. The German forces consisted of 50,000 men with around 300 tanks and 600 guns. It consisted of experienced troops like those of the Hermann Göring Division and the 10th SS Panzer Division, as well as inexperienced troops from the Hitlerjugend and the Volkssturm. The Volkssturm was Germany's last-stage army that consisted of civilian men, of which a great deal had to fight in civilian clothing. I made an in-depth episode about this army formation, links are in the description. The Polish forces consisted of 5 divisions and had around 90,000 men with 500 tanks. Many of these Polish men had no experience in battle, since they were drafted only recently when the Red Army steamrolled through Poland after the Vistula Oder offensive. Many of its officers were Soviet officers of Polish descent. So, in short, the Poles, they had the numbers and they had the supplies. The Germans, they had the experience. On April 21st, the Polish forces were driving towards Dresden. However, they were overstretched over 50 kilometers and the Germans exploited this gap. 20th Panzer Division moved towards Bautzen, while the 17th Infantry Division further east advanced towards Nietzsche and Weissenberg. The German forces linked up with several remnants that previously got isolated and were fighting pitched battles. Also, the communication lines of the Poles were cut. Polish General Świerczewski didn't stop and continued his advance towards Dresden. Because many communication lines were cut, the local Polish and Soviet forces were thrown into chaos. The Polish Second Army had to split it up into 4 groups. Some Polish units were surrounded, suffered heavy losses. The 16th Tank Brigade, for example, lost 90%. Of the 1,300 soldiers, only 100 survived. I read that in a village called Niederkaina, 100 Volkssturm members that were captured by retreating Polish and Soviet forces were driven into a barn that was lit on fire. Meanwhile, the Germans, they continued their advance to Königswarta and Hoyerswerda. Świerczewski realized the German breakthrough was serious and halted his advance on Dresden to pull back and stop the Germans, except for the 9th Division that had to push forward. Because of the broken communication lines, Soviet Marshal Ivan Konev ordered 8 divisions of the Ukrainian front to reinforce the Polish positions. At Weissenbaden, the Soviet forces became surrounded and suffered heavy losses. The Germans, they captured Bautzen and linked up with the remaining troops that were located there. The Poles launched a counter-offensive which was unsuccessful. Bitter house-to-house fighting here in Bautzen followed, yet Bautzen remained in German hands. Hitler congratulated Schörner on his victory. Outside Bautzen, however, the German attack soon came to a standstill because, take a guess, exactly, the Germans were running low on fuel. The Polish and Soviet forces managed to consolidate their defenses. The 9th Division that pushed for Dresden was also ordered to retreat. Thinking their route of withdrawal was safe, they suffered heavy losses when intercepted by the Germans. We're talking about 75%. Furthermore, the Germans ambushed a Polish convoy, wounded men, and slaughtered them all. As we saw with the other example I mentioned about the 100 Volkssturm members that were driven in a barn that was set on fire. We can also see here that this war was a total war, where for both parties the laws of war were easily brushed aside. At the end of April, the battle came to an end. The Germans weren't successful in driving towards Berlin, and Berlin was eventually captured by the Soviets, although this was already previously agreed on by the Allies. Dresden, however, remained in German hands till the end of the war, and so was Bautzen. So therefore you can say that the Battle of Bautzen was somewhat of a success. So what do you think? Was the Battle of Bautzen a victory? Leave your comments down below. I want to give a big shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much. If you want to support me so I can make better, cooler and more awesome content for you, please go to my Patreon page. Do not forget to subscribe. Hey, and if you want to know more about forgotten World War II battles, if you think this was interesting, well, guess what? I have a whole playlist for you. You can click right here. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching. I think I'm repeating myself. We're done. Thanks for watching.